chair of the House Appropriations Committee on Labor, Health, and Human Services. Recently, he did an interview with Blog Talk Radio, and he was talking about Pell Grants. So right now what Pell Grants do is they offer low-income students financial aid. They're basically grants that they do not have to pay back, so they can go to college, so they can go to universities. And right now, the maximum grant size is $5,550 per year, per school year. So it's not that much money, relatively speaking, when you really look at how much tuition is for most colleges and universities. Well, during the interview, this representative basically argued that Pell Grants are the new welfare of the 21st century. So he's basically making the argument that students go through all the trouble of applying to colleges, applying to universities, going to classes, just so they can get that $5,550 a year, because it's so much money. Let me read you his exact quote, and then I'm going to tell you how absurd he is. He says, so you can go to college on Pell Grants. Maybe I should not be telling anybody this because it's turning out to be the welfare of the 21st century. You can go to school, collect your Pell Grants, get food stamps, low-income energy assistance, Section 8 housing, and all of a sudden we find ourselves subsidizing people that don't have to graduate from college. And there ought to be some kind of commitment and end game. He's so wrong about this, okay? First of all, the $5,550 does not go directly to the student, okay? It goes directly to the university, and the university automatically applies that money to college tuition. In order to get a Pell Grant, you need to be enrolled full-time in a college or university. And on top of that, every separate institution has its own rules when it comes to academic achievement. For instance, the school I went to, if I went below 3.0 for my GPA, they would automatically take my Pell Grant away from me. So you do have to achieve. It's not like you get that money and then you go out and party. It doesn't work that way.
It goes to the core of the Republican ideology, which is they don't really want you to have a fair chance. They want the people who are in power to retain that power. Pell Grants are critical. By the way, I don't know how anybody affords schools that are not state schools. They cost so much more than state schools. It's amazing. You could barely afford the state schools with Pell Grants. And if you didn't have the Pell Grants, I don't know how people would afford the state schools. And look, that's our chance to, it's an equalizer. It gives you an opportunity to achieve, to get the American dream. But the second part of this gives you a full sense of their hypocrisy. The Republicans at the same time will not allow the Democrats to look into private, for-profit colleges that are milking the government for all this money and are delivering terrible results.
Yes.
The default rate for loans in for-profit colleges are more than twice as high as for non-profit colleges. Because a lot of these colleges are running a scam where they just get federal money in whatever it is, grants, et cetera, and they don't really educate the kids. The kids go out there, can't find a job, they default on their loans. When we go to regulate that to make sure our money is well spent, what do the Republicans do? They block it. Why do they block it, right? If they care about balancing the budget and they don't want welfare. And remember, 80% of the money for these for-profit colleges comes from the government, okay? 80%. So now the Republicans should theoretically hate that, but they don't. They love it. Why? Because those guys are making money, they turn around and give donations to the Republicans, and they keep that gravy train going. Because they don't care about capitalism, they don't care about the free markets. They're corporatists. More money for Republicans, more money for those guys to suck out of the system.
No, you're right. And just to give you some more information on for-profit colleges, first of all, they've been investigated because of the fact that they use deceptive techniques to recruit students. And on top of that, half of all student loan defaults are from students who go to for-profit colleges, right? Only 15% of students in the United States attend these for-profit colleges. That should show you that there's a huge, huge problem with these institutions. But, do the Republicans do anything to stop that and the wasteful spending that goes to these colleges? No, they don't do anything because they don't care about those things. They don't care about education, and they don't care about making sure the money goes to the right place.
Look at that Republican vision of education. We would create all these... And so you understand, because if you're not deep into this, you might not know, right? So there's state schools which are public, but then there's a ton of private schools that are nonprofit. Those are most of the colleges that you're familiar with in the country and the universities that you're familiar with. These private, for-profit colleges are relatively new, right? Most of them are relatively new, like Phoenix University, those type of things, right? And they were created basically as a way to take government money And then if you provide an education, it's okay. If you don't, whatever. Who cares? The bottom line is you keep that gravy train going because they're for profit, and that's their main mission is to make money, right? And they figured out if you grease the politicians, that money keeps on coming. It's smart. I get how they make money off of it, but education isn't their priority or their goal. And so now if Republicans had it their way, that would be the model, where you wouldn't necessarily get an education. A lot of you would default on your loans. It would cost the government so much more money. But who cares? As long as, they get the money returned to them in campaign donations, they don't give a damn. And it would take away your money to attend real schools.